welcome to a Marvel review. This is going to be perhaps a new thing that I'm going to start doing, which is I pick a Marvel movie that has literally just come out and review it for you guys. So I wanted to review The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now this video will, it will contain spoilers. So I suggest if you haven't seen this video, if you haven't seen the film, go see it. And if you want a non-spoiler review, then check someone else out. There's IGN. I know they've got a review. It's not a very good review, but it's a review. Although sometimes the worst reviews are better to watch, because then you might go in going, well, whatever. So let's talk about the plot. The plot of the story, which obviously what we're going to do is perhaps we'll go in depth to the main story. Anyway, the brief plot is basically that we have Spider-Man. Well, I mean, obviously. Sorry. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. Dang it. Oh yeah. So anyway, the film begins a few years after the events of the first one, obviously. The reason I'm going to say a few years, well, it might be months, but I'm going to say at least 1 year, perhaps, if not half a year. So anyway, they've now graduated from school, and you know, the relationship between Peter and Gwen is quite strained because of the promise that Peter made to Gwen's father. He keeps seeing ghosts everywhere, basically, which isn't really a big spoiler, but you know, it's kind of there. So he's still haunted by the fact that he couldn't save Gwen's father and all that, and he's worried that someday he might make a villain that will kind of turn his life upside down, basically, and he's worried that Gwen will get hurt in the process of all this. Then we jump a couple scenes. Well, actually, it's like almost the first sequence where he sort of saves Max Dillon. Is that right? Yeah, who is played by Jamie Foxx, who we all know is Electro later on in the film. So he saves him, and from that moment on, he's just like kind of obsessed with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man was the only person to actually call him by name, and he's felt extremely special that he was the only person to, first of all, kind of know who he was and stuff like that. So he's quite over the moon about that. Let me think. What else? I'm making this up as I go along. I was trying to remember, because I saw it twice in one day, which is weird. I'm just trying to think of how to do this. Sorry about this. I'm not used to doing reviews of things. I'm not very good at it. What else? Let me think. I'm just trying to think the plot. Oh yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to tell you how things happen. So this is where the spoilers are going to come into it now. This is the spoiler section of the review. This is where the review goes into spoiler territory. So hit that stop button and go watch the film. Anyway, so after that, you know, quite a lot of scenes after that. I think it's about, I don't know how long, a couple of weeks possibly. After that sequence, Max goes to Oscorp. He's talking to one of his guys, one of his bosses or whatever, about the power plant that he helped design, and it's like his sort of mental dream sequence where he's like, you know, because the guy was like kind of dissing Spider-Man, so he kind of had like a rage in his mind. Anyway, so later on in the day, he is told by a Mr. Smythe, who could be Alistair Smythe. I would assume. From who is the guy who built all the robots for the Kingpin. If you ever saw the 90s TV show. And so on and so forth. Anyway, so he's told Max to go and kind of fix a power problem in one of the labs. And it's Max's birthday, and he was like, "Oh, why can't I just go home?" So he was like, a bit annoyed. So he goes off to fix this thing, and then he gets there and he kind of radios someone on his radio and just basically says, "Oh, can you turn the power off?" And the guy's like, "No, I'm already out the door, so do whatever." So, which is what, yeah. That's one problem with the film, is like, why would you do that? Anyway, moving on. So he's fixing the thing, and then he gets electrocuted, and then he falls into I think a tank full of, like, I'm going to assume genetically altered eels. So that's how they power Oscorp, obviously. And everyone thinks he's dead. Because he's like kind of like crystallized and it's kind of like burnt basically and looks dead. So they take him away to some place where they dispose of his body, and they want to keep it all secret because of all the whole lizard incident. They don't want people knowing about it. So that's how that starts. Now we're going to jump back to like the beginning of the film. Before we get to like the scene where Peter Parker's going through the city, chasing the Rhino in a truck. There's a scene of Richard Parker recording, like I'm doing, a video on his computer, on his laptop. And we hear the words. Again, this is probably a little bit spoiler. Everyone will think that I'm a monster, and then he goes, "Maybe I am," and then kind of says something else, and then clicks the thing off. Anyway, then we jump to a scene of the one that we saw in the first film, where he goes into his office to see what Peter's shouting about, and then we kind of see him drive to. Then we kind of see them at Uncle Ben and Aunt May's house. And then we see them on a plane, on like a private jet by the looks of it. And as they're doing it, they're talking about like hiding from the US government, basically. And then he starts typing away and like has all his files, and he's downloading it to a safe house back in New York in case they get killed, basically, which is what kind of happens in the next couple of minutes. One of the co-pilot comes in and it's like his hands covered in blood, and basically he starts fighting and eventually makes the plane crash. So that basically told you how they died and in what circumstances and stuff. Because when I first heard that they got killed, I thought it was in a car crash or something, but actually it was a plane. So there you go. Spoiler alert, there you go. That's number one. Spoiler number one, I suppose. Let me think. Oh yeah, the relationship between Gwen and Peter is quite strained because of the promise that Peter made to Gwen's dad about keeping her out of trouble, out of the danger. And also he's fearing that one day there will be a supervillain so powerful that he won't be able to save her or something like that. He just has this big fear of losing her. And for most of the film they're kind of broken up, but at the same time together. It's kind of it's one of those complicated relationships, and those scenes are quite good. There's quite a lot of them actually in the film. between the two, there's quite a lot of interaction. It's quite comical at times. What else happens? Trying to think. Oh yeah, there's a lot of cut out. Actually, there's one scene. Anyway. So then we see like Harry Osborn come back from wherever it is he has been, and he goes to see his father, who is dying of a critical illness, as we know from the first film. And in this room, again, this is another spoiler. He basically tells his son that he is also dying from the same illness. It's because it's a genetic trait that's passed down through the family line, and it starts getting worse. Or starts getting bad at Harry's age. So in the film, Harry is needing of Spider-Man's blood because he thinks that Spider-Man, because he is the only human tested person that has actually come out of the whole genetic alteration thing, that it would cure him because of self-healing stuff from spiders and stuff like that. What else? Sorry, I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, so there's this whole discussion about from Harry Osborn and Peter Parker about getting Spider-Man to come up and give his blood, but Peter thinks it might kill him or do something worse, and then that leads us into a huge spoiler, which I think most people already know about this film, is that it forces him, because Spider-Man comes along and basically sees him and says, "I'm sorry, you can't have my blood because we don't exactly know what effects it's going to have," and he jumps away, and that's then where it starts. Then that's when the hatred for Spider-Man starts, and then he, after that, is forced to free Electro from the Ravencroft Institute for the Criminally Insane. And then they sort of kind of break into Oscorp because Harry is like kicked out because the company is like, because the company is very dodgy anyway. Because they want someone to take the blame for all the dodgy stuff that's been going on recently and stuff. So anyway, Harry gets into the special projects area where they have all the special things like the Doc Ock arms and the buzzards. I think it's the buzzard. Or was it the vulture? Sorry, the vulture's wings and all that cool Easter egg thingies that they have in the film. And that's also where they have the spider venom. So I'm thinking, because we saw in a previous trailer that there was like a venom storage thing on a list of various different files. I think that might be what they were referring to. Possibly, I don't know. We're not too sure about that. But we're going to say that. What else? What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So that leads him to inject himself with the same spider venom that Peter injected. However, there's a catch. Apparently there was human DNA used in the spider experiment, so it would work. And the DNA that was used was that of Peter's father, Harry Osborn. Not Harry Osborn, sorry. Richard Parker. I get the names mixed up because I'm talking a lot. Anyway, so he basically, that's why Spider-Man is the way he is because his father's DNA was in the spider thing, so it was compatible with Peter's DNA. So that meant that his DNA, so Peter's DNA is actually the key ingredient to make like, for example, a super soldier, basically, is pretty much the whole thing. So I think that's kind of cool, and I love how they're setting up for the Sinister Six, because at the end of the film we see the Rhino and the Doc Ock's arms and stuff. So I think that's awesome that we see those things, and they're setting up the Sinister Six. In fact, there's a line in it where Harry is basically, after he's been beaten up by Spider-Man, he's saying, because he becomes Green Goblin anyway. So he's saying that we need. He's being interviewed by Doctor. I can't remember his name now. It's on. So they do tell you, but I can't remember for the life of me. If you've seen the film and you know his name, post it in the comments, because I have no idea. I can't remember. Anyway, so he's talking to this doctor or whatever, and he's saying about, we're looking at candidates for a project. How many do you want? And he's like, let's keep it small. 6 maybe? That's not 6. That's 6. 6 maybe? Sorry. One of the things I loved about this movie, now we're actually getting into the things I loved about the movie, is the music, which I have bought the album too, and I'll probably stick some in here. So I'd like to say thank you to Sony Pictures and Heinz Zimmer and the Maleficent Six, and a whole bunch of other cool people as well in the film. Yeah, there's 2 albums you can buy actually. There's the deluxe version, and then there's the thing. I'll go for the deluxe version. It's got more songs. Anyway, the soundtrack for this film it's a masterpiece. It literally, the scenes, the best parts in the movie for me were the scenes with Jamie Foxx's Electro. And I know this is a 17-minute video, but hey, it's a review, and I'm telling you what I thought about it and stuff, and what was cool about it. Yeah, the best sequences I think were the bits with Jamie Foxx and Spider-Man going at it. IGN said that Electro wasn't, but I'd have to disagree with everything IGN said about the movie. Well, maybe not everything, but a lot of it. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So I love the music. The music score is brilliant. The theme for Electro is called My Enemy. If you want to listen to that, just type it in YouTube, My Enemy, and I'm sure it will come up somewhere. It is brilliant music. It kind of sums up the first sequence you see of Electro, the first actual sequence you see of him. He's like, in his mind, he's going through things, because he's confused, scared, angry. All the emotions are racing through him. He's not sure what the hell's going on. And people have been shooting at him and calling him freak and stuff, and he's just kind of losing it at it. And then there's a bit when he gets shot by a sniper, and Spider-Man tries to stop him from attacking him or something, and he gets shot, and then the camera's focused from him to Spider-Man, and then in his mind he thinks that he's betrayed him and stuff. All that is basically betrayed in the song, so it kind of, the song basically sums up what he thinks at that moment of Spider-Man and all the people around him, and it's quite cool. It's quite a nice song. There's loads of good songs in the movie. So let's talk about one of the biggest spoilers that came out way before this movie even was seen by a single soul, and that is, I do warn you, this is the biggest spoiler of the whole movie that is going to come out, and that is the death of Gwen Stacy. Yes, the death of Gwen Stacy. She actually dies in the movie, like in the comic books. One person said, I thought it was going to be different to the comic book. Yeah, okay, interesting comment, because a lot of you complain when it isn't like the comic book. What do you guys want? I mean, come on. Sheesh. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Seriously. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I've not really read the comics, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, yeah. Anyway, so a lot of people thought, one of my friends thought she would be, killed on the Manhattan Bridge or whatever it was. In this, it's the clock tower that you see from the trailer, and a lot of people thought that as well. Which is one of those kind of things you kind of go, ugh, because everyone was right. It's one of those instances where everyone's like, oh, she's wearing that thing from the comic book she's wearing the thing that she died in the comic book, so she's going to die in this movie. And everyone was right, which is one of those annoying things that happens in the film. In the film. Oh, sorry about that. Excuse me. So I thought the film, I'm going to wrap up now. I thought I could talk more about it, but 20 minutes is long enough for me. I'm going red in the face and I'm tired. It's late. It's like 2 a.m. now. Anyway, so there's a lot of cool Easter eggs in the film. Actually, I'm just going to quickly talk about that. Like, for example, the Sinister Six references in the film. So Harry Osborn wants to set up the Sinister Six. We're not quite sure why. Perhaps because of his and the other thing is he finds out about Spider-Man, being Peter Parker, because he's at the power plant with Gwen Stacy, who is obviously, and Harry's like, he's looking at the two and he's like, oh, I see, it must be Peter Parker, because Peter was saying earlier that he was going out with Gwen Stacy and Gwen Stacy's here, so connection. Anyway, so yeah, and he is also the guy who killed Gwen. I would like to see actually in the next one how he handles that as a character. If he's like meh about it and he doesn't care, or if he's like really kind of going to beat himself up about it. We don't know at this point. In the film, Harry Osborn is played as a very much psychopathic kind of guy. He's kind of on the edge. He's kind of a bit. I mean, he's creepy, but at the same time charming. He's like sort of. The scenes where Peter and him are being like best friends, he seems a normal guy. He doesn't seem creepy at all. But the scenes where he's not with Peter, he's pretty creepy. He literally is one of those kind of guys that you wouldn't want to really talk to in those sequences, and he gets quite psychopathic in some sequences, which I thought was an interesting move, because Harry's been always played as a sort of nice, comedic kind of person, and in this they're like, no, we're going to make him completely villainized and whatever, which I thought was quite a nice touch to it, because Norman Osborn isn't in it anymore because he died like within 10 seconds of him being in the film, which is like, okay, fair enough. Just trying to think what else can I talk about before I end the video. Let me think. What else is good in the movie? The visuals are nice. The electro bits, they didn't spare any expense on this. And for a tenth of a second in this movie, I felt like I was watching the original 90s cartoon show, which is absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen it, go and buy it. It's absolutely amazing. Just like the film. Just trying to think what other cool Easter eggy type cool things are in the film. I can't really think of anything else at this point in time. Oh yeah. Before I end, this film is quite emotional. It made me feel quite sad when Gwen actually did die, because the sequences where they're sort of trying to get together or back together are very sort of heartwarming, if you will. They're kind of funny and awkward and whatever at the same time. Stuff like that. So, awesome movie. In my opinion, this movie is the best Marvel movie, or at least the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Is it as good as the Avengers? Ooh, it's a bit debatable at the moment. I would say yes. But that might just be because of the music alone, I think, to be honest, is what I think for me kind of pushes it over the edge. Without the music, I don't think it would have worked as well. I mean, if you have seen this movie and whatever, the one thing that IGN didn't talk about was how great this soundtrack actually is. I mean, yeah, you've had good soundtracks to films in the past, like Iron Man and stuff, but this is just like, what? I mean, it's kind of basically like watching a concert of like lights and sounds. You know, where they have like concerts where they have like whenever they do it like sound and a different light kind of thing. It's kind of like this because Electro, and I thought Jamie Foxx was one of the best Electros I've ever seen. Period. Although I think I still prefer James Franco as Harry Osborn, but this guy did an amazing job as the guy as Harry Osborn, I think. Oh yeah, Felicia Hardy's in it as well. I forgot all about her. She's like kind of not at all what everyone. Well, I mean, she's not in it as much as everyone else. She's like in like about 2 scenes, I would say. Actually, no, 3 scenes. She has 3 whole scenes in this entire movie. There's one like right at the beginning when Harry comes in, where she's promoted to his personal assistant. There's one where she's talking to him about special projects, and then there's another one where she's trying to stop a bunch of people coming in to like whatever to like be mean to him and stuff. So it's literally 3 scenes she's in. That's it. That's her character build up. Just kind of like pushed to the side, really. So I don't know if they're gonna do something amazing with her in the next film. I have no idea. Well, I hope so, because they brought her into the film, so there must be a reason for her being in the film in the first place. I know she's in the game, but that's the game. The game is different to the film, because I watched a little thing which is basically saying that it kind of is in the film universe, but it's an alternative version of the films. I mean, the first game was based after the first film, but at the same time it was a different kind of thing. 'Cause it had Rhino and it had Alistair Smythe in the game, who's now in the film. So he's in it now, Alistair Smythe. You hear Max say, you know, Mr. Smythe or whatever, or Smooth or whatever you can't remember, and so maybe they're going to do something with him. Maybe they might bring the Kingpin in. I don't know. I would love to see the Kingpin in a movie again. I loved the guy who played him in Daredevil, and I love that film. I don't care what you guys say. I love that film. So my final verdict for this film would be, if there was a scale, 100 out of 100. But at very least, 10 out of 10, I would say, for this movie. From a biased Marvel fan, I would say yes. This is probably one of the best films I've ever seen, and my 2 friends will agree with me on this, that I went to see this film with. Again, did I think this is better than the Avengers? Well, personally, I thought this was better than the Avengers, but that, like I said, is probably because of the music, really. But then again, you know, Age of Ultron will probably be better than this film because of the scale of it. I think that's the difference. I think the first Marvel film had a good scale, but this one had a slightly. I mean, the scale was kind of small. It was like centered to New York, one superhero, but I mean the epicness of it was the same as, or better than. Anyway, so like I said, this movie definitely deserves a full 10 out of 10 from me. And like I said, I saw it twice in one day. Yes, it was that good. And dare I say it, it was amazing. And everything about it was awesome. So, having said that, and this is now a 30-minute video, but hey, you know, if you've watched it to the end, hooray for you. If you haven't, well, that's your prerogative. I hope this review was helpful, and I hope you kind of already saw this film before you read it, you know, before you watched this video. But, you know, that will be in the description, it'll be in the name, everything like that kind of thing. So, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.